Round 3 of the series is the Beacons Enduro. Usually this is the last event, but this year it's been brought forward because in 1999 the Beacons will be a world round. It's a new start in location at the livestock market in Llandovery, but of course the event takes place in the Cruchen forest, and this is where we meet the clerk of the course, Bob Perrin. Bob has been working for months in the forest and he's still putting up route markers. You're still marking the course?
We're not doing interviews today.
Oh, aren't you? Oh, tell us a bit about the go-in.
It's too easy, too dry.
It's dried out a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's boring.
What about tomorrow?
And tomorrow. There'll be too many finishes.
Oh. Don't take too much notice of what Bob says. He's marked out an excellent course, but the dry conditions will help the riders a little. There are some puddles on parts of the course, but the fire roads are rather dusty. The championship riders are doing 3 laps of the course and 3 timed laps on the rather short motocross test. On lap 2 they were in for quite a surprise. A hill climb which they'd ridden on the first lap had now become very difficult. It was very shaly and had been cut up by the Clubman riders going through, and it presented quite a problem. For Bob Perrin's reference in future years, I named this spot Cemetery Hill. Number 3 was Rowan Jones. Mark Chapman is number 2. Some of the riders didn't want to push, so they went back down the hill. Mark Vaughan made only 1 attempt, but did get to the top. Number 12 is A.D. Smith, the championship leader. A.D. refused to push. He went back down. Much better second time. It was the same problem for all of the championship riders. They couldn't believe how much it had changed since the first lap. Tim Lewis on the Husky, behind him number 13, Jonty Edmonds, and Geraint Jones is going back down the hill. Geraint came up well on his second attempt. Steve Griffiths from Cardiff should have known his way around this forest. John Shirt was stood up on the pegs, but not for too long. Rob Rayford was trying to go up the bank, but then he dropped down in front of John. Both riders were going nowhere. John Shirt decided to go back down. Shirty had a look from the bottom of the hill to make sure it was all clear. He would have to wait a moment or two because Rob Sartin and Carl Tiley were coming up. Rob managed to keep going. Tiley was struggling and Rob Rayford was coming up again. And watch out for John Shirt on his second attempt. Full marks that time. Number 17, Richard Hay, and just behind him, David Knight. David using his trials experience, but he was going to have a 5 on this section. And it was a refusal for Richard Hay. Number 22, Jason Fraser. He wasn't going any farther on the Yamaha 400. John Deacon also struggled, but he wasn't going back down the hill. Phil Smithson decided it was much easier to run alongside the bike. Apart from Cemetery Hill, there weren't too many problems for the championship riders. Most of them went clean. The overall places were sorted out on the rather short motocross test. Average times for the championship riders around 1 minute 50. John Deacon won the four-stroke class, and at the end of the day he was doing wheelies. Jason Fraser won the 400cc four-stroke class, but he was 2.5 seconds down on Deacon. In the 125s, Rowan Jones finished 4th in the class. It was quite close between him and number 4, Joel Mitson. Rowan won the first test and Joel won the second, so they were about equal going into test 3. They were both averaging around 1 minute 53, but Rowan was a bit slower on his last test. The time was 1 minute 55. One small mistake on this test could be very costly. At the end of the day, Rowan was just 1 second down on Joel. Rowan scored 13 points and Joel 15. Husky rider Tim Lewis was runner-up in the 125s. Today he was getting lots of encouragement from his sponsor, Mike Carter. And the top 125cc rider, Mark Vaughan from Knighton, on a Honda. Mark riding for the Honda Britain team along with Carl Tiley and John Deacon. Vaughan was averaging around 1:52 on the test, and he beat Tim Lewis by nearly 3 seconds. At the end of the day, there was plenty of time allowed to work on the bikes. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, I got brakes. Just changing it a bit warm, Frank, for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's easy to do it now, isn't it?
Well, Tim was fitting new brake pads, and all the championship riders had changed tyres. Was Dave Vaughan pleased with Mark's performance?
Very well, yeah, actually, yes.
Is he leading the 125?
I think so. Yeah, I was seconds in it, you know. I think he is leading at the moment. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
So
Mark finished in 5th place overall. In the 250s, Geraint Jones finished 5th in the class. He was 2 seconds down on Vaughan, though. Rob Sartin, averaging around 1 minute 49 on the test, was down in 4th place. He didn't look quite as fluent as usual, but about a week ago he had crashed in a motocross event. Rob was 6 seconds up on Mark Vaughan, so he also finished 4th overall on the day. A fortnight ago, Carl Tiley had finished runner-up at the ISCA. Today he was going to finish in 3rd place. Carl was a little bit slow on his first test, 1 minute 50. That put him down in 5th place. He won test 2 by 0.34 of a second, and then he was second on test 3. At the end of the day, Tiley was 1.4 seconds up on Sartin. In the work area, he seemed to be all fingers and thumbs.
What did you say then, Carl?
Nothing. In front of Carl were 2 Yamaha riders. Number 21 was David Knight from the Isle of Man. Like most of the championship riders, David did struggle on Cemetery Hill, but it wasn't for too long. David was very consistent on all three tests. He was third on lap 1 with a time 1 minute 49. Third on lap 2, but he went quicker on that one. And he was also third on lap 3. At the end of the day, he was leading Carl Tiley by 0.36 of a second. David was slowly getting used to changing tyres. Eddie Smith had won the Breckland, he'd also won the Isker, and on this first day of the Beacons he was looking good. Eddie won the first test by just 0.09 of a second from Rob Sartin. On the second test he was 0.02 of a second quicker, but on that test he was beaten by Carl Tiley. Eddie won the last test, equaling Carl Tiley's second lap time of 1 minute 48.04. At the end of the day, Eddie was over 2 seconds up on the rest of the field. He was doing wheelies. I thought there would have been lots of fun when the expert riders got to Cemetery Hill on lap 2, but I was wrong. These chaps really put the championship riders to shame. In the four-stroke class, most of the riders lost time. David Grimshaw on a Honda 440 was second in his class, but he was 11 minutes down. Peter Hannis, riding a Honda 600, was 7 minutes late, but won the open four-stroke class. Andrew Knapman, number 83, was third in the 400cc class, but he was 6 minutes down. Chris Tett from Dudley, riding the Yamaha 400, lost 4 minutes but finished runner-up. The only four-stroke rider to go clean was John Morgan from Usk. Remember, a fortnight ago he'd won his class at the Isker. John was certainly liking his new machine, the Yamaha 400. In the 125s, quite a few of the riders were going clean. William Midgley from Skipton finished in 5th place. The TM rider, Glenn Foxwell, was in 4th place. Glenn was averaging around 1 minute 57.5 on the test. Mark Gammons was in 3rd place. He beat Foxwell by 0.3 of a second. Runner-up in the 125s went to number 46, Ewan McConnell from Newton Stewart. Ewan was 0.8 of a second up on Gammons. And the top 125cc rider, Simon Evans from Wrexham. McConnell was averaging 1:57 on the test. Simon was much quicker, a little under 1:55. In the 250s, Husky rider Darrell Peach finished in 5th place. About 18 of the experts were clean today. Trials rider Lee Sargent from Pontypool, riding his 2nd Enduro of the year, finished in 4th place. TM rider Tim Hunt from Andover was 3rd in the class. He beat Sargent by just over 1 second. And runner-up in the 250s, number 16, Neil Williams from Brecon. After 2 tests, Neil was just 0.06 of a second up on Tim Hunt. Neil finished 4th overall on the day. Ewan McConnell was in 3rd place. Simon Evans runner-up. And the top 250cc rider, and the one who took the Premier Award in the class, number 51, Cy Higgins from Tavistock. Cy won both special tests from Simon Evans. It was fairly close on the first lap. The difference, 0.37 of a second. On lap 2, Cy was much quicker, beating Evans by over 2 seconds. Cy won the first day of the Beacons by over 2.5 seconds. It doesn't sound much, but it's a lot of time to make up on a very short special test. This first day of the Beacons was tough for the Clubman riders. Like the experts, they were doing 2 laps of the course and 2 timed laps on the special test. On the first lap, Cemetery Hill caught a lot of them out, but at the end of the day, that first check was scrapped. Even so, only about 18 riders went clean. Quite early on in the day, Paul Hearn was struggling with his Honda. I'm not sure what he said, but it certainly worked. Michael White, number 138, I'm sure has got one leg shorter than the other. On this first lap, quite a few of the riders were late coming through the first check. Both Paddy Buchanan and his bike were well camouflaged. Philip Gardner was sliding all over the place. Bob Perrin had found some good going. In the over 40s class, number 173, Terry Thomas was the winner. He was the only one to go clean there. In second place was number 171, Stephen Hudson. Wayne Williams from Lampeter, number 176, was runner-up in the 350 four-stroke class. He was beaten by number 181, Paul Mayle. In the open four-stroke class, Paul Shuttler finished runner-up, but he had lost 12 minutes on the go-in. And the winner of that class was the Husaberg rider, Chris Boyce. In the open Clubman class, Julian Crimp finished in 3rd place. He lost 2 minutes on the go-in and apparently lost all use of his brakes. Julian was beaten by Yamaha rider Clive Passingham. Clive lost only 1 minute on the go-in. Clive struggled just a little on the tree stumps. The winner of the Open Clubman class was number 137, Darren Jones from Thomas. He was clean on the go-in. If you remember, Darren had also won the ISCA. In the 250s, Anthony James from Swansea finished in 4th place. He was averaging 2 minutes and 3 seconds on the test and clean on the go-in. Steve Melville was 3rd in the class and about 4 seconds up on Anthony. With today's result, Steve's score in the series was now 64 points. He was the leader. Brian Collins from Ulster Gunlice had finished runner-up at the ISCA, and he was runner-up on this first day of the Beacons. His second test was just a fraction under 2 minutes. And the top 250cc rider was number 158, Chris Hockey from Colchester. Seen here going through just in front of his teammate Gary Drage. Chris won both tests in his class, averaging around 1 minute 57, and he beat Brian Collins by just over 4 seconds. Chris needed the points though, because after a good ride at the Breckland, he failed to finish the Iska. In the 125s, James Gammons was clean on the goings, and with test times around 2 minutes and 3 seconds, he finished 4th in the class. Number 102, Rhys Whittle-Williams from Llanidloes, wasn't liking the tree stumps. He got his act together on the test though and beat Gammons by nearly 6 seconds. Rhys finished in 3rd place. The top 2 places in the 125s were between number 101 Dylan Jones and his cousin Edward Jones. Edward was number 96. Both riders were clean on the going. Dylan's test times were just a fraction over 2 minutes. He finished runner-up in the 125s and 3rd overall on the day. Edward had beaten most of the expert riders at the Iska, and he did the same here again today. His test times were just a little over 1 minute 56. He beat Dylan by exactly 8 seconds and took the Premier Award in the class. Runner-up overall was Chris Hockey. He was just 1.5 seconds down on Edward. Edward would have finished 3rd overall in the expert class, and Chris Hockey would have been in 4th place. Day 2 was much harder for everyone. Although the course was in the same direction, there were extra loops and the time checks were much tighter. Only about 4 Clubman riders went clean. Number 160, James Sullivan, was 10 minutes down but finished runner-up in the open class. And the winner in that class was number 137, Darren Jones. Terry Thomas won the over 40s, Mark Godsall the open 4-stroke class, and Wayne Williams the 350 4-stroke class. In the 125s, Rhys Whittle-Williams dropped a minute on the go-in and finished in 4th place. KTM rider Neil Boyd from Cleveland was clean on the go-in and finished 3rd in the class. On day 1, Neil had scored 11 points. Edward Jones finished runner-up in the 125s. Yesterday he was averaging 1:56 on the test, and today his average was nearer 2 minutes. Although Edward did not win the class today, he would finish runner-up overall. So the top 125cc rider on this second day of the Beacons is Dylan Jones from Llanidloes. Dylan was averaging 2 minutes on the test yesterday and 1 minute 59 today. With Dylan's style of riding, it would be quite easy to mistake him for his father, Geraint. In the 250s, James Newstead finished in 4th place. He'd had a bad first day though, lost 6 minutes on the go-in and been right out of the points. James's score after 3 rounds was now 65. Steve Melville was clean on the go-in, and on test 2 he did the second fastest time. Steve finished in 3rd place. And his score for the series, 84 points. And runner-up in the 250s on both days, Brian Collins from Ostergunleis. Although Brian had missed the Breckland, his score from 2 rounds was 56 points. It was Chris Hockey who was the fastest Clubman rider on this test on day 2. He won both laps. He won the 250cc class and also took the Premier Award for the weekend. And Chris's score for the series, 80 points. Day 2 was also much harder for the expert riders. Yesterday, about 18 had gone clean. Only 5 went clean today. 59. In the open 4-stroke class, Suzuki rider Ian Pearce finished runner-up, although he lost 34 minutes on the go-in. Peter Hannes scored maximum points in this open 4-stroke class. He won both days, and for the weekend he was 20 minutes down. In the 400cc 4-stroke class, Chris Tett had finished 3rd on day 1 and also 3rd on day 2. And runner-up on this second day was number 85 Mark Buckley. Yesterday he was quite a long way down the field. He lost 19 minutes on the go-in. The top 4-stroke rider on this second day, Andrew Knapman from Abergavenny. Andrew wasn't the quickest on the test, but he only lost 3 minutes on the go-in. In the 125s on day 2, Wayne Mundell finished in 5th place. He was 3 minutes down on the go-in. Glenn Foxwell was 4th yet again. He'd lost 2 minutes on the go-in. He'd been beaten by Ewan McConnell. Ewan had also lost 2 minutes. The runner-up in the 125s, number 32, Stuart Mundell. He was a minute late. Stuart scored 32 points this weekend. And the top 125cc rider, Simon Evans from Wrexham. Simon won both days in the class. All 4 of his tests were under 2 minutes. He was averaging around 1 minute 55. This was another good weekend for Simon. His total score in the series was now 107 points. In the 250s, 4 riders went clean. Tim Hunt had no problems on the go-in, but on his first test he was rather slow, and that meant that he finished in 5th place in the class. Tim's score for this weekend, 31 points. In 4th place, Craig Bounds from Treharris. He'd had a bad first day, losing 6 minutes on the go-in. That had put him out of the points completely, but on this second day he scored 18. 3rd on day 2, number 48, Gary Flowers from the Isle of Man. Yesterday he had a rather slow second test and meant that he only scored 8 points. Gary was clean on the go-in for both days, and his score for the weekend, 28. Like yesterday, he was just a little bit slower on his second test. Neil Williams from Brecon had finished runner-up on day 1 and he was to do the same on day 2. On his first test, Neil did the 5th fastest time, 1 minute 56.8, but like Gary Flowers, he was a bit slower on the second. And the top expert rider at the Beacons, Cy Higgins. At the ISCA, Cy had dropped a minute on the go-in, but he didn't make any mistakes this weekend. Over the 2 days, he won all 4 special tests in the class. He was averaging around 1 minute 53 and his nearest rival, Simon Evans, was averaging around 1:55. So it was maximum points for Cy and his score in the series had now gone up to 105. Cy would be hoping to score well at the next championship round, the Dartmoor Enduro, a local event for him. It was a tough day for the championship class, 3 laps of the extended course and 3 laps on the special test. There was a lot of new going, parts of the course had been changed, but some of the riders wanted to go the same way as yesterday. Geraint Jones made a very rare mistake.
All right, Geraint.
I had taken him by surprise.
Oh, you're to the corner behind it. Sorry for that.
It's the first time I've seen Geraint on the ground. Only the best in the championship class were going clean on this second day.
15.
John Deacon won the open 4-stroke class, but he was 2 minutes down. When he came into the final check, I asked him what had happened.
Where have you been, John? Have you had a night? You liar.
That would have made him 10 minutes late. John reckoned the best part of the course was along the road from Llandovery in the morning. In the 400cc 4-stroke class, Paul Maguire was clean on the go-in and finished runner-up. In fact, yesterday he also finished runner-up, but he was 7 minutes late. Maguire was beaten on both days by number 22, Jason Fraser. It was Jason's first season on a 4-stroke, a Yamaha 400. Jason's average on the test for the weekend was around 1 minute 54. In the 125s, Andrew Edwards from Wrexham finished in 4th place, but he was 5 minutes down on the go-in. Joel Mitson and Rowan Jones had quite a battle yesterday to finish 3rd and 4th respectively, and the battle carried on again today. Both of them managed to go clean on the go-in, so their final result would be down to test times. After the first test, Joel was 0.6 of a second down. On lap 2, Rowan's time was 1 minute 52. Joel was 2 seconds slower. At the end of the day, it was Rowan who was the quicker man on the test, and he beat Joel by over 2.5 seconds. Both those riders scored 35 points for the weekend. It was Tim Lewis who took the Premier Award on Sunday in the 125s. Tim was clean on the go-in and didn't have to worry too much about Mark Vaughan. Vaughan had a bike problem, and did finish the day, but 90 minutes down. Tim beat Rowan by just 2 seconds today and scored 42 points for the weekend. In the 250s, Husky rider Jonty Edmonds finished in 5th place, and Jonty finished the weekend 7th overall. 12 championship riders were clean, so the top place is down to test times. On day 1, Rob Sartin and Carl Tiley finished 4th and 3rd respectively. There were 4 seconds between the two. Tiley was sticking close to Sartin. He wasn't going to lose any time. Rob did the 3rd fastest time on lap 1, but it was 0.7 of a second down on Carl. Tiley won the first test at 1 minute 47, but on lap 2 he made a big mistake and his time was 1 minute 53. Carl went on to win the 3rd test, but that mistake cost him at least a couple of places and he finished 4th on the day. Rob Sartin took 3rd place in the class and beat Carl by just over a second. The rider from the Isle of Man, David Knight, had finished runner-up on day 1. He was certainly clean on the go-in on day 2. On the first test, David was down in 4th place, but on lap 2, when Tiley made his mistake, David won that test. And on the final test, he did the 3rd fastest time. David was runner-up in the 250 class on both days, and he also finished runner-up overall, beating Carl Tiley into 3rd place, the difference 4 seconds. On the tight check at the end of the day, David had time to spare.
Good weekend, David. A little bit faster and...
Yes, if David could have gone just 3 seconds quicker, he would have taken the Premier Award. But the rider who he would have to have beaten was A.D. Smith. A.D. was certainly on top form this year. On the test yesterday, he was averaging just over 1 minute 48. On the first lap this morning, it was 1 minute 47.7. On lap 2, the time was almost identical. And again, on lap 3, he was only 0.06 of a second slower. Today, AD was second on all 3 tests. It was consistency that counted. Coming into the final check of the Beacons, AD does another of those wheelies. We've now had 3 championship rounds, the Brecklin, the Isker and the Beacons, and AD has won all 3.
Well done, Eddie.
AD has won 4 out of the 5 championship days, and his score in the series is now 107.